there's a lot of people out there saying that consumers are going to be $1.2 billion better off. They're not going to be $1.2 billion better off because they're probably going to see a small increase in some of their prices.
The RBA's proposal on interchange fees didn't receive nearly as much publicity as its proposal to ban card surcharges. What are interchange fees? Who levies them and who pays them?
It's a really interesting question, isn't it? Because every time you and I tap our cards or tap our phones to pay for something, there's fees that go on in the background that we're not even aware of. And interchange fees largely go from the payment service provider, that's Square or Tyro or whoever it might be, to the card issuer. But you've also got the rails involved, that's Visa and MasterCard. There's fees changing there as well. So it's not just interchange fees that are passing hands. You've also got scheme provider fees. You've also got acquirer margin fees because, you know, Visa, MasterCard, the banks, Square, Tyro, they'll all tell you they need to put a little bit of cream on the top in order for them to keep their lights on and for them to continue turning a profit.
So there's no doubt it's complicated, but the RBA says lowering the cap on interchange fees from 0.8 to 0.3% of a transaction is good news for the mostly small businesses who pay them. But will there still be a bill to pay and who will pick it up?
There will absolutely be a bill to pay. It's not like small businesses are suddenly going to have to not pay for facilitating electronic payments. The RBA is just hoping they'll be significantly lower. You know, that reduction in the cap from 0.8 to 0.3 for credit cards, that's a significant drop. They've more than halved the cap on those interchange fees. And as you said, they help small businesses more than big providers because big providers aren't paying fees that are close to the cap. They're paying a lot lower because they've got bargaining power. But at the end of the day, it's up to all of the people in the chain to be passing this on to small businesses, particularly their payment service provider, whether that's Square or Tyro or someone else. And at the end of the day, they will still get charged something that the small business owner will have to think, okay, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to just cop it on the chin or am I going to put that into my prices and put the prices up for consumers? So I know there's a lot of people out there saying that consumers are going to be $1.2 billion better off. They're not going to be $1.2 billion better off because they're probably going to see a small increase in some of their prices.
We've asked the major banks today what they make of the proposed changes to interchange fees. A spokesman for CBA told us that the proposed changes are significant and that the bank is currently assessing the implications. Did the banks see this change and the magnitude of this change?
I don't think that they thought that the RBA would come out with a consultation paper with such strong, firm ideas of the outcome of that consultation paper already articulated. I think that's what's come at a shock. Also, the significant reduction in the interchange fees has probably come at a shock, and the banks then need to work out how they're going to deal with that. Certainly, previous times, CBA has said that they support a ban of surcharges. Well, this is my understanding. They support it across credit and debit cards. Other banks have said different things. They've all got differing views on the topic. Certainly, having one blanket ban across both credit and debit, which is what the RBA is suggesting. The government had suggested just banning debit card surcharges. Banning them both makes it a lot more simpler for you and I who are trying to pay with, you know, for the phone, with the phone or with the card. It's also making it a lot simpler for the shop that's trying to work out how to manage these payments. It will be interesting, though, to see how the banks respond in this consultation period. They've got till the 26th of August. I can only imagine the RBA is already getting inundated with submissions with so many different vested interests in this mix.
If the banks are looking at passing this charge on, what are their options? How do you see them doing it?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk about rewards programs having to take a step back. And it's a really interesting proposition because, yes, some of these interchange fees have been going to help support those rewards programs. You know, someone with a credit card might get perks like free access into a lounge, or they might get rewards points, free flights, that type of thing. But they're funded in part by those interchange fees. When you think about it, it's Australians with paying by credit and debit cards that have been helping support those fees. So again, it might be a little bit fairer, but at the end of the day, we might find that rewards programs start taking on a new shape or form. They could respond by increasing fees on some of those credit cards. They could respond by increasing the interest rates. They could reduce the earn rates. They could reduce the burn rates. There's a lot of different ways that they could pass this on. The time will tell what they do. I don't think it will be the death of these cards, not at all. I think that they're a money maker for the banks. They'll want to hold on to them, but they may, go through somewhat of a transformation.
But this proposal could indeed put the bank's margins under further pressure.
It could put them under further pressure, but I think that the banks are pretty clever at working out how to resolve these issues.
Sally, Apple Pay is such a big part of the way that Australians now pay for goods and services. What did the Reserve Bank have to say about Apple Pay in its reform proposal?
Yeah, very little, because they're not part of this one small system, but ultimately they are, because so many Australians pull out their iPhone to tap and pay for things. I certainly know that I do. And so, yes, Apple Pay will be part of that mix in terms of, because it costs the banks a lot to facilitate those Apple Pay transactions. So it would be interesting to see if the banks continue to offer Apple Pay to their customers. Westpac, for example, they were the last big bank to come on board with Apple Pay. It was back in 2020 from memory. And they came kicking and screaming because it is such a big expense. But I can't see a world where banks start taking that away from customers. We've all grown very used to paying with our phones. It's only probably going to increase if the card providers and the card issuers let us. I think it will. You'll see that fee passed on in a different format, and Apple Pay will probably be here to stay, but could not guarantee it.
Interesting time. Sally Tyndall, good to speak to you.
Thanks for having me.